Do you want to make sure that the attorney you're hiring for your estate plan is qualified to make an estate plan that works for you and your family? Then stick around for our 21 question series, again continuing this week with the question, what percentage of your practice is focused on estate planning? So again, this is part of our 21 question series that we're going to ask the questions that we would ask if we were hiring an estate planning attorney, so that you and your family are armed with the proper information to make sure you're getting an estate plan that works for you. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, click your notifications, and make sure that you are aware of when the next video comes out. I'm Raymond Chandler, a partner at Polaris Law Group, Missouri estate planning law firm.
Hi, and I'm Scott Stork, his partner. And so today we're going to talk about what percentage of an estate planning attorney's practice is actually estate planning. Because contrary to popular belief, there is a number of people who say they do estate planning, but they actually only do a small part of their practice as estate planning. And so why that's important is experience matters. Experience really matters, especially depending on the type of law that you're looking to have the lawyer represent you on. So really think about it as if you had, let's say you needed to have brain surgery, right? And you went to the doctor, would you go to the general practice doctor and say, hey, I need brain surgery, what can you do for me? Or would you seek out a specialist? And frankly, if you went to your general practice doctor, wouldn't they tell you to seek out a specialist for something like that? And really, estate planning is very much similar to that. So you know the old adage, jack of all trades, master of none. Well, it's a little bit like that when we talk about estate planning. It's a very specialized area of the law. There is an enormous amount of thought that goes into it with regard to what the changes in law are, what the consequences are, how that's going to affect a family, how do we stay out of court. Estate planning done well is really a specialty that is there to make things easier and make sure that life doesn't become more complicated. And so if you have an estate planning, or if you have an attorney who says they do estate planning, but on their list of practice areas, it says they do criminal law and family law and estate planning, and they'll take the personal injury case and they'll do your traffic ticket in XYZ, well, that creates some problems. The first thing is, if they do those other practice areas, that means that they're probably going to be in court. Their calendar is going to be completely saturated with having to be out of the office and doing other things, which means that they're not going to be able to devote the amount of time necessary to a specific project like yours. And really, the more areas of law that someone does, quite frankly, the less likely they are to have an expertise in it. They may have forms that they've gotten from other lawyers. They may be able to fill those out, but they probably aren't going to be able to issue spot and have real world solutions to the problems that you face. And while you may think sometimes that your problems aren't that complicated, I can guarantee you that they're probably somewhat more complicated than you think. And if you've got somebody who's not experienced in that, they're not going to be able to know how to deal with those. So if you go to an experienced estate planning attorney, an experienced probate attorney, somebody who really that's their only practice area, I guarantee they've seen the issue that you have. And if they haven't, they're going to know where to seek out the answers to be able to deal with those things. So experience matters. The education that the attorney has matters. So if all they do is estate planning, they're probably devoting their time of continuing education, of learning the law in that practice area. If they are a general practitioner or somebody who has 5 different types or 3 different types of law that they practice, or 10 different types of law that they practice, their education time is going to be saturated by having to go and learn new laws about divorce, and learn new laws about personal injury, and learn new laws about criminal law, and learn new laws about X, Y, and Z. And the amount of time that they're going to focus on estate planning, quite frankly, if any, is going to be very minimal. And so that's why the percentage of the practice area that they devote to your specific situation is so important. So Ray, you want to talk a little bit about how we do things?
Yeah, it's easy. Planning is all we do. So about 100% of our practice is devoted to estate planning or executing estate plans. So we're either helping people create estate plans or, quite frankly, fixing those that didn't have one in probate or settlements or some things of that nature. So that's what our entire focus is at this firm. Between Scott and myself is just estate planning. And the reason that's important to us is that way we're able to totally focus on one area of law and make sure that we are devoting our entire time to that area. Because there are so many changes in the legal side of things in every practice area that if you're trying to keep up with 3, 4, 5, 8 different practice areas, you're not going to be able to go deep on any of those. You're going to get a very surface level knowledge of those. And quite frankly, that's not what I like to do. I like to go as deep as I can and get pretty nerdy about estate planning, to be honest. So if you really want to nerd out about estate planning, give me a call. But I like to just dig through one set of statutes and books and practice areas and go as deep as I possibly can. And I'll just be frank, I had the experience of being a general practitioner before, where I was doing bankruptcy and criminal and family and estates, and it was very surface level knowledge of any of that because you just don't have the time to go deep enough. Now we have the time to go as deep as we need to on estate planning to make sure we know all of the areas that could affect you and your family when you come into plan with us. And that's why it's important to us to make sure that that's what we do, is just that planning side. And then, the planning side on the front end, and then seeing what it does on the back end through probate and settlement to make sure that we're planning on the front end for you so you don't go to probate, things of that nature. So just having that knowledge base is important.
Yeah, and one other thing is when we talk about the kind of the continuing education, I was in a general practice firm also, and we speak from experience. If you go to the Missouri or any other state's small law firm conference, they are giving you small bites of every practice area, and you don't get much in the way of continuing education, as opposed to what we do now with education and things like that. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the good analogy is the buffet. So where do you get the best steak? Do you get the best steak at a buffet, or do you get the best steak at a steakhouse? And where do you get the best meal is at the restaurant that specializes in that type of meal. Is the Mexican food at the buffet or the Mexican food at the Mexican restaurant? Chinese, all those type, and now I'm getting hungry. So all those, that's kind of the analogy is as a general practitioner, you ate as a buffet, a little buffet of knowledge. You'd get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. You don't have the time to go as deep as you need to. And it's important to us to have that knowledge, and quite frankly, estate planning is the only thing you should ever hire us for at this point. I haven't kept up with DWI law or family law or anything of that nature because I've been doing estate planning solely for so long that you shouldn't hire me for anything else, to be honest, because the estate planning is where we dig into, and the planning side of things is what we dig into. And that's really important in the estate planning world, especially because every case is so different. And clients think that I'm a simple case just like everybody else. Every family is so unique, has unique assets, has unique issues, has unique wishes, has unique goals. You need to be able to plan for that and have that knowledge base that you know to plan for that. And that's really why diving specifically into estate planning is a very unique practice area that has to be very specialized in.
Yeah, and quite frankly, at this point, we do multiple weeks during the year of continuing education. So we don't get bites of the buffet.
Right.
I mean, yeah. we are sticking our face into the plate at this point. So that's a very important thing. Again, there's very few things that we haven't seen and that we don't know how to deal with or don't have the resources to deal with.
And good or bad, about the only attorneys we hang out with a lot of times are other estate planning attorneys. It's probably bad for us. We should probably branch out with some new friends. But that means all we're talking about at lunch, in the hallways, at the conferences is estate planning. And so it's really focused that way. So continuing on with our conversation, again, this is part of our 21 question series of the questions that we would ask an estate planning attorney if we were hiring one. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to stay up to date. How does that attorney stay up to date with the latest estate planning practices and knowledge and things of that nature? So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell to make sure that you get your notifications when the new videos come out. If you have any insight or anything, you can leave a comment below, and we'd love to hear from that too. So I'm Raymond Chandler, partner at Polaris Law Group.
And I'm Scott Stork, and thank you for watching, and we hope this is helpful. Thank you.